First of all, not all dispatchers are bad. In fact, most of the dispatchers that I've had were excellent. But some dispatchers would lie to their mamas if it meant getting you to do what they wanted you to. So let's expose some of those lies that dispatchers tell new truck drivers in this video. All right, so all you other truck drivers that have some experience with this, I'm calling on your help. If something that you know of that dispatchers will lie about and that I did not cover in this video, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. But number one, it's a hot load. Yeah, right. Are all the loads hot? No, they're not all hot, but they will tell you this, and it's kind of a good thing, I guess. You know, they're telling you this so that way you don't waste a whole lot of time. You get where you're going, you get your job done, and especially as a new truck driver. As a new truck driver, you may not understand time management. So time management is one of the most important things as a new truck driver to learn. So they will tell you that all the loads are hot, but in reality, very, very few are actually hot. So if you're just aware of this and you just do your job and learn to manage your time, they'll stop telling you that every single load is hot. Number two, dispatchers lie about, oh, we can't reschedule the appointment. Well, stuff happens. I mean, that one right there, that's just total BS. I'm not a fan of that one. If you're at a shipper for 8 hours, which happens all of the time, especially if you're working for a mega carrier, a lot of those accounts are ones that smaller companies really just don't want. They don't want to mess with. So they're kind of leftover for the mega carriers. And a lot of times your loading times will be very extended. And so in the event that you're sitting at a shipper for 8 hours waiting to get loaded because there's 40 trucks in front of you waiting to also be loaded, well, there's nothing that you can do in order to reach that appointment time. Your day is going to end very early. You're not going to get that many miles in. So it's only natural that you're not going to make the appointment time. Guess what they do? They reschedule the appointment. Now, if something were to happen with you, if you're sick, there's a lot of reasons why you may wind up being late other than just wasting time. If you have a legitimate reason, call your dispatcher and let them know. And if they start to argue with you, be adamant about it. You are the captain of your own ship. You're going to hear that a lot in this video. So own it. Start operating your truck like it is your business to operate, and don't accept the fact that they just can't reschedule an appointment. Now, a little caveat to this. Walmart is terrible about rescheduling appointments. So I'm sure there are other companies out there, but be aware of that. And the number three thing that dispatchers lie about, we can't change the fuel stop. Some of the companies will tell you exactly where you are to fuel. And they have all these algorithms and smart people and whoever writing stuff that calculate your best routing, as well as where the cheapest fuel is going to fall, as well as if the tax, which in the end is going to turn out to be the same no matter what. But anyway, they have all of this stuff figured out. So there are very specific fuel stops. And as a company and as a dispatcher, they do have to make sure that you hit a certain percentage of your actual fuel stops, the ones that are calculated. But you can actually change those fuel stops. If think about this logically. Let's say you're going through the mountains and that fancy computer that tells you where you need to get fuel miscalculates, which happens, and you're not going to make the fuel stop. You know that you're going to run out. That light just came on. You're still 400 miles away, which has happened to me before. Guess what happens? They find you another fuel stop. Imagine that. So just be aware that you do need to hit the majority of your fuel stops, but every once in a while you can call them up. Hey, look, I'm not going to make it, or whatever excuse you need to use, and you can actually change your fuel stop to another place. And just really quickly, if you're enjoying the video so far, if you're getting value from it, please click that like button. It helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that notification bell so that way you can be notified when the next video drops. And the next thing that dispatchers like to lie about, Oh, other guys make both these drops in the same day all the time. They just use PC. If you're unfamiliar with what PC is personal conveyance. It can also be called Line 5. It can also be called off-duty driving. Don't do that. Very illegal, and that is very specifically what DOT officers are looking for whenever they pull you into the weigh station and they just do a quick inspection of your logs. They actually, and I've been told this, they go directly to within the previous 8 days to the times that you used PC. And then they look to see if it actually makes sense. And a lot of times it's not going to make sense. So don't use PC unless you're using it properly. And to be honest, it's actually just easiest to just avoid it. Just avoid it until you become a seasoned driver and then use it properly from that point. But never, ever just use PC to advance yourself on the load. And this is anything. Even if you're at a truck stop and there's a Walmart closer to your actual delivery, do not use PC to advance yourself closer to that delivery, because you will actually need to return back to your original spot before you can start. So no advancement on PC, and certainly don't use PC just because the dispatcher said so. The next thing the dispatchers lie about, and this one just kind of makes me laugh, you're required to chain up. Ha! No, you're not. You are the captain of your own ship. Remember I said that a minute ago? If you feel uncomfortable, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if the chain law is up, I've been driving for over 9 years, I shut it down. Do I know how to chain? Yes. Have I chained before? Many times. Is it fun? Never. It's also a lot of work too. Now sure, if you live in the Northwest and that's all you do is regional in the Northwest, well, you're probably gonna be chaining. But if you're just an over-the-road truck driver, I say just, you're not just an over-the-road truck driver, but if you're an over-the-road truck driver and you happen to get in that situation, just shut it down unless you feel comfortable with it. It's a complete judgment call on your behalf. You are running that truck. It is your business. It's your life. It's your CDL. Do not let the dispatcher force you into chaining up. Nobody can force you into chaining up. Unless you get stuck on the freeway and then you are required to move by a sheriff or a bear or something like that. Well, yeah, you may be forced to chain up at that point, but don't let the dispatcher do it. And the next thing the dispatchers lie about, and this is kind of a protocol error on a truck driver's part, but you're always taught to call your dispatchers first. Let them know what's going on. If the truck breaks down, if some kind of engine code pops up, you're always taught to call dispatch first. Well, they're gonna tell you, oh, that thing won't derate on you. I see that code all the time. No. That thing will derate on you. These DPF systems are very fickle, and that truck will shut down on you in a heartbeat going 70 miles an hour on a downslope. You don't want to deal with that. Don't call your dispatcher, call the shop, call maintenance, whatever it is that your company calls that department, call them. I've always dealt with breakdown. So that was my department name. I would call breakdown. Hey, this is what's going on. They would do what they had to do, and then they would tell me what I needed to do. Then call the dispatcher and you tell them what you are doing. You don't ask. Never ask the dispatcher about a breakdown situation, because that's a safety situation. If breakdown tells you you're gonna be fine, go ahead and keep rolling, you know what? That's no longer on you. And I'm gonna tell you, CYA. Get them to tell you that in writing, whether it's email, whether it's through your ELD, your Qualcomm, or whatever you have. Get them to give that to you in writing. And if they won't give it to you in writing, tell them you're not moving, period. Because they will blame you if something happens to that truck, even though you called. So always, always, always CYA. One of the things that cracks me up is, oh, well, the weather's not that bad. Just keep going. as if they're with you in the truck. They don't know what's going on. Sure, they may do a quick search, and it might, you know, the Weather Channel app may pull up a city that's 50 miles away from you, and it may not be raining, or it may be light rain in that city, but where you're at, it's absolutely pouring, and you can barely see. You're driving 20 miles an hour. Do you think that's safe? I don't. This is also another be the captain of your own ship moment, where you have to make that judgment call, just like the chaining. So if you feel uncomfortable with the weather, if you feel like you're in danger, or if you feel like your truck is swerving, that trailer's sliding all over the road, it's probably time to shut it down, find the nearest safe haven, and go ahead and shut that truck down, and then call your dispatcher and tell them what is going on. They cannot force you to drive in poor weather. Now, they may try. They may try to tell you. They may call it another hot load. But at the end of the day, it's your safety. So make that safety call yourself. One of the next things that dispatchers lie about, and this one really irks me, is, oh, you're not overweight by much. They won't notice. Nah. Overweight tickets are some of the most expensive tickets out here. Overweight tickets add up on a cent per pound basis in some states, a cent per pound basis per mile. It can easily get into the thousands. And you are the one that's responsible. You are the one that has to go scale that load out. So it is your responsibility to know if you are overweight. And if you come upon this, if you get loaded, you go to the scale, you go inside, you move your tandems around, you cannot get it right, or if you're just flat overweight, if it says 83,000 pounds, go back to that shipper. If that shipper's already closed, shut it down. Go back to the shipper the next day. At that point, when you shut it down, you certainly need to call the dispatch. That's when they're going to tell you that, and that's when you tell them absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yes, old school truck drivers used to, they used to hot dog all the time. They would bypass the scales, this and that. It's called outlaw trucking. This day and age, you don't want to be an outlaw trucker. There's way too much technology for you to take that risk. You never know when there's going to be a portable scale on a spot that is easily, like you got a highway just south of the interstate and it just happens to go right by the scale. Guess what's going to be sitting there? And Murphy's Law is always going to be in effect. When you're overweight, that's when they're going to be sitting there. They're not going to be sitting there the 40 other times that you went around that scale, only when you're overweight. So don't do it. This is a bonus tip. This is going to save your relationship with your dispatcher. I deal with this all of the time. What you should do when you are booked on a load is call and confirm appointment times, call and confirm pickup windows, call and confirm your deliveries. Call the delivery after you're already loaded. There's no need to call before, but make sure that you call. Appointment times get mismanaged all the time. And a lot of times what I deal with is the broker, same thing for a company driver, dispatcher, they will tell me that I can pick that up at 8 a.m. And just the other day, I didn't call, and I could have got loaded at 7 a.m. I could have saved myself an hour, I could have started an hour earlier. It's always best to start earlier rather than later. It's easy to park. I could keep going on, but I don't want to bore you. Just call. You're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of headache, and also, a lot of times directions they're very poor with the GPS getting you into the right spot that you need to be in. This is also a great time to ask for directions to the place for an 18-wheeler. Make sure you say that. Are these directions for an 18-wheeler? Because Betsy, who's super nice at the front desk, she doesn't drive an 18-wheeler. So you need to ask that question, and they will almost always, oh, well, they'll start fumbling. They'll transfer you to somebody who can give you proper directions, and then life is good. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Ring that notification bell. See you when the next video is coming out. But as always, stay driven.